The battle between Saitama and Tatsumaki continues. Metal Bat returns to the One Punch Man manga, and Fubuki has something major up her sleeve. I'm Mastar, welcome back to the channel, my beautiful baldies. For that sweet and sour One Punch Man chicken, let's dive into the new chapter right after this. If you've ever been injured in an accident like a car crash, you probably need a law firm to represent you, but lawyers sound confusing and difficult. What do I do? Well, an injury law firm like Morgan & Morgan, today's sponsor, can fight to help you with ease. You don't need to spend any money to get started, they make the process extremely easy for you, and you don't owe them a dime unless they win your case. It only takes 8 clicks on your phone to apply, which you can do from the couch. Morgan & Morgan is one of the nation's leading injury law firms, and you can check them out today by clicking on the link in the description to get started. Okay, so chapter 180, in the middle of something, and we're blessed with a very cool picture of Metal Bat, who returns in this chapter to fight an extremely large monster that has just invaded H City. That's going to happen near the end of the chapter, but first we have to continue the battle between Saitama and Tatsumaki, who at the end of the last chapter began to raise her psychic power level even more in the battle with Saitama, even risking destroying innocent people in the process. Now here she's going to continue to use her psychic power and literally blow off Saitama's jacket. This picture is hysterical, and his t-shirt represents some sort of Japanese noodle sauce. I guess that's pretty fitting considering how much he loves udon. And pretty much for the most of this chapter, it just continues Tatsumaki wailing and beating on Saitama the entire time. She's like kind of flicking him away with her psychic powers, repeatedly poking, and it sends Saitama completely flying. And we've talked about this before, how impressive it is that she's actually able to move and manipulate Saitama's body so easily. I mean, first making his muscles twitch, now she's just literally flinging him all over the place, which obviously not many monsters in the series have been able to do against Saitama. It kind of reminds me of some sort of Dragon Ball Z attack where they keep pushing the opponent with either ki or a blast or something like that. We're gonna go back here to Fubuki, who is analyzing what her sister said and trying to like come to grips with, is she right? Like maybe my big sis is right the whole time. And eventually, yes, she's gonna come to the conclusion that her older sister, Tatsumaki, when she said, get rid of the Fubuki group, the Blizzard group, like they're all useless, they don't do anything, and they just put you in danger, Fubuki's gonna realize that her big sis was right. And in this chapter, she's going to disband the Blizzard group. And I think this is a long time coming. You know, obviously they were introduced pretty early on in the series, and they literally have not done anything but just get beat up as fodder. And if she wants to improve and become stronger, she needs to adopt Tatsumaki's way of just fighting to protect herself, the teachings of Blast, essentially. And with that, she just basically just flies away. So she just rockets out and follows Saitama and Tatsumaki in their battle. So what's she gonna do? Is she gonna go help Tatsumaki? Is she gonna go help Saitama? Is she just gonna go on her own way? Well, we're gonna find that out probably in the next chapter. I think the battle of Saitama versus Tatsumaki will conclude in the next chapter, and then potentially we could get Fubuki versus Tatsumaki, which would be extremely cool. Okay, so now we go over to H City, where we're introduced to an A-class hero named Feather, and he's basically getting beat up by a bunch of gangsters. I'm just gonna kind of breeze over this. To be honest, I wasn't really feeling this too much in the chapter because it took up so many pages, and it really just ended like goofy with Saitama running into the guy and like pretty much just like knocking him out. So One and Murata take their time to give us this little side story of how this guy Feather, was he being manipulated by this woman? You know, she comes over and she's like, oh, I'm actually just, you know, the wife of the boss of these guys. But then she walks away and she's like crying, and Feather sees that, so he's like, oh, you really do want me to rescue you, XYZ. But, you know, long story short, after this whole sequence, which takes up about half the chapter, it ends very abruptly. And maybe we're going to get more of this character Feather, like maybe this is just like a big introduction to him because he's going to have a bigger spotlight in the future. But we see the boss, his name's Big Iron. He's got an A-class bounty on him, which probably means he's about the strength of an A-class hero. And just as Feather is about to put his life on the line to battle, Saitama gets knocked through the wall and takes him out. And here we see Saitama and Feather on the ground surrounded by by all these gangsters. And we see that Tatsumaki has come and she's in the crater or the hole in the wall where Saitama just came from. He says, just send her the repair bill. And they're like, oh crap, like that's the #2 pro hero. Like, so all the criminals are absolutely terrified. Obviously, no mere mortal can even stand in the presence of Tatsumaki. She's so powerful. And she's like, why are you going to send me the bill? You're the one that blasted through the wall. And we get this recurring theme with Tatsumaki where she will not take accountability for anything, even if she puts innocent lives in danger. She's just going to blame someone else. So this is a huge character flaw in Tatsumaki, but it's also a big character trait. Essentially, it's establishing that she's never really faced a threat that has allowed her to come to grips with who she is yet. So she's 28 years old and she's pretty much been invincible ever since she was rescued by Blast. And it's going to take a pretty earth-shattering moment for her to wake up. Like, she needs a wake-up call. This battle with Saitama might do it slightly, considering that she can't hurt him, but it's probably not enough to push her over the edge to become like a truly good person yet. So Tatsumaki pretty much just eliminates all of these gangsters in a single flick of a finger, and now we're gonna go over to H City, where a gigantic dragon-level demon has arrived and is ravaging the whole city, named Kenzan Rat. It's a destructive rampage. The eastern portion of H City is almost completely leveled. If this keeps up, even human civilization may be in danger. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's S-rank heroes that can handle giants. I love this picture, by the way. Murata never ceases to disappoint. He always gives us just some beautiful double page in every single chapter. And just imagine how long it would take to draw the detail on all of that city. His use of contrast to show the destruction and the scale and power of the monster is all very, very impressive work. So we get to see the S-rank hero that has approached to fight this giant monster, and it's going to be Metal Bat, our boy. The last major fight he had was against Sage Centipede, where he fought side by side with Garo against it, and he's, to be honest, not really the great at fighting giants. He's fought Elder Centipede and Sage Centipede, but he wasn't really able to hurt either, although he didn't get knocked out and die either. But he did have help in just about every case. Even with Elder Centipede, Metal Knight came with Beaufoy and started shooting a bunch of artillery at it. So this is round 3 for Metal Bat versus a giant, but unfortunately he's not really going to have his chance or his opportunity to shine, because in the battle between Saitama and Tatsumaki, as they're flying at super psychic speeds, battling each other, flying through walls and buildings, they're just gonna burst right through this thing's brain, pop out its eye, and destroy it. And honestly, this is mostly Tatsumaki's doing, because Saitama's not really fighting back, and she's just blowing him away at super speeds. So Tatsumaki essentially just took out a dragon-level monster without even looking or trying, which is insanely impressive in its own right. I mean, if you just take a look at the Monster Association arc, how many powerful dragon-level monsters there were, and how difficult of a fight they were for a lot of the S-rank heroes, well, she just took one out without even paying attention. And they continue to fly through all these buildings, destroying everything. And yeah, Saitama's like, what's your problem? You destroy everything. You destroyed his first house and you almost destroyed his second house. What's going on with you? Aren't you, why isn't she getting tired yet? She's still smiling this whole time. And Metal Bat's just like, I have a cat waiting for me at home named Tama, who's about to give birth today. And so he's just going to go home. And that's the end of the chapter. To be honest, not one of my favorite chapters. Again, they wasted way too much time on the whole A-class hero Feather guy and the whole gangster thing. But I think this battle will wrap up in the next chapter, and then potentially we get Fubuki versus Tatsumaki, which will be interesting. I'm curious as to, did Tatsumaki use a lot of her psychic power? Like, is she worn out? So that will give Fubuki a chance. If they battle, what's going to happen? Is Fubuki going to get a power up? Should be interesting. Tune in 2 weeks for the next One Punch chapter review.